Hello freaks! I'm finally doing another book review and finally reviewing and continuing the Virgin New Adventures, Doctor Who Virgin New Adventures. We're continuing with the Cat's Cradle trilogy. So, oh, I just spat everywhere. That's good, isn't it? So you might notice I'm in a little bit of a different location. It's a nice location. Cat's Cradle times Crucible by Mark Platt. This is one I've been meaning to get to for a little while. I obviously read the Time Worm 4-book arc last year, I want to say. 2021. I began it in 2021 and ended it pretty early last year. And I really enjoyed that experience, and obviously I want to continue reading the Virgin Adventures. So obviously, the next place to go is the Cat's Cradle trilogy. Now, Mark Platt, you may remember, has written my favourite TV story, and also my favourite Doctor Who book that I read last year, which was the novelisation of Ghostlight, his TV story. So I was really excited to see what he could do with a non-TV story, like a non-adaptation. And I'm pleased to report that I absolutely loved this. This was a 5 out of 5 for me. This took me... I read like half of this in like a day. I was absolutely gripped. Just turning the page, trying to see where this was going. The second half took me a little bit longer because I was also reading it along with something else. But this is a fantastic book. I highly recommend it. However, I will say there are some things to point out. So let's first talk about what this book is about. So Cat's Cradle takes place... obviously, a little while after they've had their Time Worm adventure. I think it references Time Worm like maybe twice in the book. So they've defeated the Time Worm and everything, and they go back. Seventh Doctor and Ace. They go back, and they're in a calf, and then stuff starts going weird because the TARDIS basically gets infected by this alien virus. And then basically, shortly after that, things happen, and suddenly Ace is alone in this deteriorating city, trying to figure out what's happened to the Doctor, what's happened to the TARDIS, where is the TARDIS, where is she, who are these things, these things called the Process, and what are they all about? And then there's also a group of people who are Time Lords, wandering this desolate city, looking for something, and how they ended up here, and what they're doing, and who they are, and how they connect to the past of Gallifrey. So there's quite a lot going on in this book, and I will say it's kind of interesting that they place this right after Revelation, because there are some similarities, specifically with a heavy focus on Ace, and Ace exploring her place with the Doctor, and like her past and stuff, although it's not as heavy like past-wise as in this. In Revelation, sorry. So I really love the characterization of the Doctor and Ace in this. I think he just gets them down so well. In fact, I think Mark Platt might actually be my... And I've said this multiple times. I said this in another video, my sort of update book reading video, where I did talk about this. That I think he is my favourite... like Doctor Who writer so far that I've read. I've not read tons, so obviously that could change. But in terms of his prose, I think he is so good at weaving a story and a sense of place as well. And you really feel this like crumbling, desolate city, the way it's kind of constricting and coming in on itself later in the book as well. I won't give spoilers or anything, but it's brilliant. There's some great character stuff in here as well. I really like I really like Shonzi as a character who gets introduced. He's one of the Time Lords. He's a pilot for like the original like time ship, which is really interesting. So something in here as well that I find really interesting is that we're exploring the very long ago past, the ancient Gallifrey, which is such an interesting time because we never really got much of it in the series, like on TV, because I mean we got hints of it. Like obviously we had the vampires, the great vampires, but in this, we do get to explore more. We get the Pythia, who's this person who can, this woman who can see into the future. She's like this sort of empress, not empress, she's kind of a religious figure, and she's really interesting, a really interesting character study for her, even though like her story has already happened. Like what happens to her is set in stone, which is really interesting. Like we know her time is up. Some of this I think some people may find sort of spoilers, but you kind of know a lot of this stuff going in, so yeah. Yeah, I just love this. There was so much that we got to explore. I also really liked about halfway through when we finally get to see the Doctor again, and he starts becoming the Doctor, because that's part of the will be the Doctor. I really like that. I like that exploration of the Doctor as a character, his morals, and the fact that like without his memory, like the change in him, the way he looks at stuff from the point of view that he is when he doesn't have this memory of all his adventures and knowing the stuff he knows, you know, it's kind of interesting. And the fact that, is he the hero we know? I think there's quite a lot in here about like the mythologizing of characters and stuff. Partly the Doctor, but also, like I say, ancient Gallifrey. We also see a little bit of oh god, I've forgotten his name, but the one who invented the TARDIS is the New Order and stuff like that. So that's really cool. There is a little glimpse of Omega in here as well. It's a really fascinating book. I will say, this is the longest book so far, and it maybe slightly drags, very slightly. It is kind of repetitive, but in kind of an interesting way. It's almost like this is kind of an interesting, might be a little bit of an interesting comparison, but it's a little bit like PT, the game, that playable demo that they had, playable teaser, in that the repetition almost feels like you keep seeing the same things, but slightly different each time, which is quite fun. Also, the big idea in this, and this is a spoiler, I feel like I was really surprised by this. I really like the idea of what the city is, and like just everything about that. That's really cool. And how it's to do with like time and stuff. Yeah, just fantastic. So yeah, I love this. I thought this was 5 out of 5. My only proper complaint, even though I did say there was a bit of drag, but I personally, I don't think there was that much really. My only real complaint is the Shonzi and Ace thing. There was this tendency in the books, so far, to keep having Ace sort of hook up with a guy and stuff. And it works most of the time. Like, I sort of get it. I mean, it started from the Remembrance of the Daleks thing, and it, you know, it's kind of exploring her character and stuff. But it's sort of repetitive, and they kept doing it. they did it in Apocalypse, Time Worm Apocalypse, which I wasn't a fan of. Oh, actually, no, I did. I quite liked Time Worm Apocalypse's use of it, actually. I thought it was kind of interesting. This one, so it's Ace and Shonzi. So this is kind of a spoiler. Now, it is a massive spoiler, actually, because, so a big part of this book is the fact that the city is kind of split into segments, and the segments are, like, past, present, and future, so you can meet, like, older versions or past versions of the characters, and of Ace, and things like this. So Shonzi, at the beginning, is, like, just this young child, and at the end of the book, like, throughout the book, but particularly at the end of the book, they kind of have this thing where Ace has fallen for Shonzi, but it's a bit weird because he's a kid. I wasn't a massive fan of that. I found that a little I do like Shonzi and Ace's chemistry. I like the idea surrounding them, but I think it would have worked better if it was more of a maternal kind of piece. The idea that Ace feels like she has to look after Shonzi, you know, and stuff like that. Specifically, you could have tied that in with the whole ghostlight thing as well. Like her friend, she feels like she needs to protect those who are vulnerable and stuff like that. So I don't know. It didn't really work for me, that bit. But the rest of this book was just beautifully written, really, really interesting, fascinating. I turned the pages so quickly. I love a lot of the characters, like the Time Lord characters as well, that are stuck in the city. I thought were really good. Particularly, I don't know how to say his name, but Val, was such an interesting character as well. I love the fact that he was like, he was such a slimy little so-and-so, you know. I love him. A great character in this. I just really enjoyed it. It was a great mystery. The ending was sort of rushed as well, but I still enjoyed it. I think it made sense. I know some people may say it's slightly almost Deus Ex Machina, but I enjoyed the ending. I thought it was well done, if slightly. Well, okay, so the ending to the actual story, slightly rushed, but still interesting, I thought. Still well done. But the actual last bit in this book was, woo! Blimey O'Reilly. Yeah, just, love it. We also get the other in this book as well, although that is definitely a spoiler, but if you've got this far. So yeah, love this. This was 5 out of 5. This I think is probably my favourite Doctor Who book now. It is kind of tied with like with Ghostlight and Illegal Aliens. Illegal Aliens. I really love those as well. But yeah, this is great. I'm really excited to go on to Warhead, I think it's called, which is the next one. Let me just find the name. It's about Andrew Cartmel, which starts a bit of a trilogy as well of books. There's Warhead, Warlock, and Warchild, I think. So I'm interested to see Warhead and how that, how it ties into the Cat's Cradle stuff as well. Because actually, this is something I haven't talked about yet, but I really like how they've set up this arc. My main issue with the Time Worm arc is we had this villain who was set up not well at all, and they couldn't really incorporate it into the other stories because they wanted to do other things. Whereas I think you can incorporate the basic idea of this arc really well. The idea of an infected TARDIS is quite interesting, I think, and the Silver Cat. So yeah, I'm interested to see like if they actually tie, if this arc actually works better, if this trilogy works better than Time Worm. But then I'm excited to see the individual stories. I think all of them sound great, including Witchmark, which isn't supposed to be great, but I think it sounds fun. I think it's going to be a good time, hopefully. So yeah, I'm excited to read more in Virgin New Adventures, finally get past the arcs and get into the individuals, the one people know the best. You know, I've got some exciting books coming up, you know, Nightshade, Love and Monsters with Bernice Summerfield. A bit further in, you know, you've got oh my god, I've forgotten what it's called, but sort of the bigger one. There's some exciting ones I'm really excited to read. So yeah, great time. I've said that about like several times now. But yeah, I really did enjoy this. I thought this was fantastic. Would I recommend this to someone who hasn't started the Virgin New Adventures? Do I think you can read this without having read Time Worm? Personally, yes. I think so. But I will say, going into this, you probably need to know quite a bit of at least some of the Time Lord Gallifrey stories from Classic Who, because it does bring up there's quite a few references to stuff, and it ties in stuff from Classic Who. And there's also some stuff in this that's obviously like the looms and stuff, which I'm not entirely sure. Like, it hasn't been fully explained, to be honest. But the basic idea of it is very interesting to me. I like that idea. I know it's kind of a controversial part of Time Lord lore, and I don't know if like it gets more controversial once we get to Lungbarrow, probably. So yeah, it's interesting. We learn more and stuff. Obviously, Lungbarrow is name dropped in here. Yeah, I think you need to know some stuff, but not too much, to be honest. But just a basic understanding of like Gallifrey and Time Lord lore from, and like and some of this story stuff from Classic Who, and I think can jump into this. But even then, I don't think it ties too heavily. It's not awful, but you're probably going to get the most out of it if you are very, very well informed about Classic Who, is what I will say. And to be honest, if you are, then that's probably why you're interested in reading this. I'm not entirely sure that a lot of New Who fans are that preoccupied with trying to read these, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun. I didn't think it was as hard to get into as Time Worm Revelation either. So yeah, I think that's it. I think that's all I can really say about that book. I did really, really enjoy it. Like I say, 5 out of 5 stars. Do let me know down in the comments below if you've read this one, what you think about this one, and also no spoilers for the rest of the series if you've read them, obviously, for any of the books. I want to go into these as wide as possible and have a good time and be surprised by what I find. Some of them I know more about than others, but yes, yeah, do let me know. Are you planning to read the series as well? Are you planning to get into the Virgin New Adventures? What have you read from them and all this sort of stuff? I'd love to hear from you. Obviously, leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe and do a little bell if you want to keep up to date with the channel. And I shall see you in the next video. Bye!